The British throne carries centuries of history, glory, and blood. Since time immemorial, England's monarchy has been shrouded in mystery, conspiracies, and inexplicable tragedies. Charles III, the current king, ascended to the throne under the shadow of his troubled past and an uncertain future. But what many fail to realize is that hidden forces, forgotten prophecies, and silent intrigues seem to be moving around him, making his reign one of the most enigmatic in recent history. Is it merely a coincidence that Charles III has faced unusual challenges since his ascension, or is there something greater at play? Some predictions suggest that he could be the last true monarch of England, the end of an era that few dare to question. But what is the origin of this theory? And more importantly, is there anything Charles III can do to escape a fate that may already be sealed? Welcome to another night where mysteries never sleep. I am Midnight, and this is 7 Nights. Before we begin, I'd like to ask for your help. Like the video, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It's just one click, but it makes a huge difference in helping YouTube recommend these videos to more people and allowing me to continue bringing this content to you. I'm counting on you. Let's get into the video. The British monarchy is one of the oldest and most powerful institutions in the world. But behind all the pomp and tradition lies a history filled with tragedies and dark fates. From assassinated kings to monarchs who lost everything, it seems that the throne of England carries a kind of curse, a cycle that has repeated for centuries. And now, with Charles III in power, many people are starting to wonder, will he be the next victim of this fate? You might think, King of England? A good life, luxury, castles. But if you take a look at history, you'll see that this crown comes with a pretty steep price, like your own head. To understand this theory, we need to look at the past. For centuries, several British kings have met tragic ends. And we're not just talking about wars or political conspiracies. Henry VI was deposed and killed inside the Tower of London under circumstances that were never fully explained. Richard III died in battle, his body was thrown into a pit, and it remained missing for centuries. But perhaps the most terrifying case is that of Charles I. He was tried, sentenced, and executed in public. It was the first time an English king was killed in such a way, and it marked the end of the monarchy, at least for a while. Now pay attention to this detail. Charles I was executed. Charles II faced an unstable reign filled with scandals and threats to his life, and now we have a third King Charles. Coincidence? Maybe. But there is an old prophecy that makes this whole situation much more disturbing. In the 19th century, historian Sir Francis Palgrave recorded a manuscript stating that the British monarchy would end under the reign of a king named Charles. At the time, this prediction was dismissed because the throne was far from being occupied by another monarch with that name. But then, Charles III took the throne. And now many people are starting to ask, was this prophecy right all along? And that's not all. Nostradamus, the famous 16th century seer, also supposedly predicted that a king of England would face a short and turbulent reign, followed by the collapse of the monarchy. Of course, his prophecies are always vague and open to interpretation. But if he really was talking about Charles III, what does that mean? Let's look at the facts. Since taking the throne, Charles III has faced unexpected challenges. His coronation, which should have been a moment of celebration, was marked by protests unlike anything seen before in modern UK history. Anti-monarchy demonstrations have grown, and many Britons are already questioning whether the royal family still has a place in the country. This has never happened with such intensity. It seems like an invisible force is pushing the monarchy to its limit. But what really makes this story even more intriguing are the strange occurrences inside Buckingham Palace itself. Staff members have reported small incidents that cannot be explained. Objects falling for no reason, hallways suddenly becoming icy cold, doors closing on their own. Superstitions? Maybe. But these small details, for those who pay attention, suggest that something is wrong. Now think about this. If this curse truly exists, where does it come from? Some theories suggest it all started with the breaking of ancient spiritual alliances, such as when Henry VIII severed ties with the Catholic Church, sealing a turbulent fate for the British monarchy. Others believe that the throne itself carries an ancestral burden, something inherited and never broken. Even Charles III himself seems to be aware of something. Unlike his predecessors, he has always shown a great interest in spiritual practices and hidden energies. For years, he has spoken about invisible forces that influence the world. But what exactly did he mean by that? Does he know more than we imagine about this supposed curse? Whatever the case, one thing is undeniable. Charles III's reign has already begun in a turbulent way. The growing dissatisfaction with the monarchy, the strange signs within the palace, and the weight of ancient prophecies create a chilling scenario. Is he truly doomed to repeat the tragic fate of the previous Charles? And more importantly, is there a way to escape this cycle? Or is destiny already sealed? If there is something that evokes both fascination and fear, it is prophecies. Throughout history, seers and mystics have claimed to predict humanity's future, and among these predictions, some seem to point directly to Charles III and a possible end to the British monarchy. But do these prophecies really make sense? Or is it all just a series of bizarre coincidences? One of the most discussed predictions comes from Nostradamus. In one of his writings, he mentions a king who will lose his crown unexpectedly. To many scholars, this could refer to Charles III, as never before has a British monarch begun his reign with so many questions surrounding his legitimacy and future. But the most intriguing part of this prophecy is the suggestion that this king will be replaced by someone who should never have taken the throne. Who could this figure be? But Nostradamus was not the only one to leave unsettling predictions. Baba Vanga, the Bulgarian seer who is said to have predicted numerous historical events, also allegedly spoke about the British monarchy. According to reports, she stated that in the near future, the British royal family would face an unprecedented crisis, leading to the collapse of the institution. Could this crisis be the reign of Charles III? Then there is the forgotten prophecy of Sir Francis Palgrave. Written in the 19th century, it states that the British monarchy will end under the reign of a king named Charles. What is most curious is that, at the time, this name did not seem relevant, as the heirs to the throne had different titles. But now, with Charles III ruling, this prediction is beginning to take on new meaning. Now stop and think. To what extent can a prophecy be taken seriously? Some predictions may be just loose interpretations, but when different seers and historians point to the same fate, it becomes difficult to ignore. What makes it even more frightening is that recent events themselves seem to be following this script. Charles III took the throne during a delicate moment. The monarchy's popularity has never been lower. Surveys show that many Britons, especially younger generations, no longer see the need for a king. And this movement is growing by the day. If there was ever a moment in history when the monarchy's end seemed possible, it is now. And we cannot forget that internal crises within the royal family have always preceded major changes. The abdication of Edward VIII in 1936 was one such example. The scandal surrounding Prince Andrew also shook the royal family's image. And now, there are rumors of internal conflicts between Charles, William, and Harry, perhaps indicating that something major is about to happen. But what would happen if the monarchy truly came to an end? Would it be the fulfillment of an ancient prophecy, or merely a natural consequence of modernity? Some theorists believe that the royal family holds secrets that could never be revealed to the public. If the institution falls, would these secrets come to light? And there is one final detail that makes this theory even more intriguing. In various cultures, the number 3 carries powerful symbolism, representing a complete cycle. Charles III is the third king with this name. If the 2 previous Charles had turbulent reigns, could the third represent the definitive closure of this cycle? Whether by coincidence or destiny, the truth is that Charles III's reign has already begun, shrouded in mystery and uncertainty. Is he truly destined to be the last king of England? Or are these prophecies merely forgotten stories that were never meant to be taken seriously? Since Charles III ascended the throne, something seems off. His reign should have been a continuation of the stability left by Elizabeth II, yet what we are witnessing is the exact opposite. Political issues, rumors about his health, and a growing disinterest from the British people in the monarchy. Coincidence? Or is there something bigger at play? Because for those who watch closely, it seems as though an invisible force is always lingering around the new king. There are things we feel but can't explain, and when even those in power start to notice, well, then it's not just paranoia anymore. And I'm not talking about ordinary political intrigues. There are strange signs, events that are difficult to explain. Staff at Buckingham Palace have reported subtle but eerie changes in the environment. Creaking doors that close on their own, strange noises in empty hallways, and even sudden temperature drops in certain areas of the castle. Now, of course, someone might say these are just old structures settling. But why did these reports start appearing right after Charles took the throne? Then there was that moment during the coronation ceremony. In the middle of the event, cameras captured a mysterious figure dressed in black walking between the columns of Westminster Abbey. The video spread quickly, fueling all kinds of theories. Some say it was just a security guard or an employee, but others question, why was no one able to identify this person? And even stranger, this same figure appeared at another moment during the ceremony, but when investigated, they simply did not appear on any of the official event lists. From that point on, things only became stranger. Reports about Charles III's health began surfacing in the media. Experts analyzed his posture, his expressions, and pointed out signs of discomfort. Was it just the weight of responsibility? Or is this invisible force surrounding him beginning to affect him in some way? But the most unsettling question is, what is behind this? Some theories suggest political conspiracies, with groups interested in destabilizing the monarchy. But others go far beyond that. There have long been rumors that the British royal family harbors secrets about occult orders and secret societies. Some stories claim that every monarch receives forbidden knowledge after coronation, a truth that few would be able to endure. If this is real, what did Charles III discover when he took the throne? And what if this force isn't supernatural, but human? It wouldn't be the first time a king has faced betrayals within his own palace. There are people within the royal family who may see Charles as an obstacle. What if this shadow haunting him is actually someone very close to him? The real question is, does this force only seek to weaken him, or is there something much greater happening? Could this pursuit be a sign that Charles III is dealing with something even he cannot comprehend? Whatever the case, one thing is certain. His reign began under a shadow, and that presence seems to be drawing closer. The question remains, how far is this force willing to go to change the future of the British monarchy? If there is one name that still haunts the British royal family, it is Diana. Even decades after her death, the princess remains a figure surrounded by mysteries, theories, and unanswered questions. But what does this have to do with Charles III? Well, for many, Diana never truly left the stage. Since taking the throne, Charles III has been constantly reminded of his past with Diana. The way their marriage fell apart, the scandals, the rumors of betrayal, all of it still lives on in the public's memory. But the strangest part is the reports suggesting that her presence may go beyond mere recollection. Some believe that something much darker is at play, that Diana's shadow still lingers over Buckingham Palace. And we are not just speaking figuratively. There have been reports from royal staff claiming to have seen mysterious apparitions in the palace corridors. Doors opening on their own, whispers in empty rooms, a sudden chill passing through the hallways. Of course, these stories could simply be legends born from the popular imagination. But what about the strange occurrences surrounding Charles III since his coronation? Shortly before Queen Elizabeth II's death, rumors began circulating about a strong unease within Buckingham Palace. Charles III was said to have been particularly shaken when visiting certain historical sites of the monarchy. One of these locations was Kensington Palace, Diana's former residence. Staff present at the time reported that the king seemed disturbed, as if he were sensing something that no one else could see. And then there are the dreams. Close friends of Charles claim that he had recurring nightmares about Diana, even before ascending to the throne. In these dreams, she would appear staring at him without saying a word. Were these just manifestations of his subconscious or something more? But perhaps the most disturbing detail occurred during his coronation. Some people noticed that during the ceremony, a strange reflection appeared in one of the windows of Westminster Abbey. The image, which quickly spread across the internet, seemed to form the outline of a female face. Skeptics argued that it was merely a reflection of stained glass and lights. But was it really? What makes this even more intriguing is that, during her lifetime, Diana had a strong interest in spirituality. There are reports that she consulted mediums and believed in signs from the beyond. If these beliefs were part of her life, is it possible that, in some way, her presence is still connected to the fate of the monarchy? And if it is, what is the reason? Some believe that this energy represents a warning. Others say it is a sign that Charles III's reign will never be fully accepted, as if Diana's past were a constant reminder that something was left unfinished. But the question no one can answer is this mystery surrounding Diana merely a creation of the human mind, Or is Charles III truly being haunted by something unseen? If there is one place where loyalty and betrayal walk side by side, it is the British monarchy. Throughout history, kings have been deposed, heirs have been silenced, and alliances have been broken within the palace walls. And now, with Charles III on the throne, many are wondering, is he surrounded by enemies much closer than he realizes? Since his coronation, rumors have surfaced that the new king faces resistance within his own family. Prince William, the direct heir to the throne, has gained more popularity than his father, being seen by many as the true symbol of the monarchy's continuity. Meanwhile, Harry, the renegade son, has cut ties with the royal family and made controversial revelations about the inner workings of Buckingham Palace. With so many family conflicts exposed to the public, the question arises, to what extent are these just normal disagreements, and to what extent do they indicate a silent battle for control of the crown? It wouldn't be the first time an internal conspiracy threatened a British monarch. In the past, Edward VIII was forced to abdicate due to political and family pressures simply because his marriage was deemed unacceptable. Henry II faced revolts within his own court, and even Elizabeth I had to deal with plots to remove her from power. If history has taught us anything, it is that a king is never entirely safe, not even within his own palace. You can live in the largest castle in the world, but if your enemies are inside it, where exactly can you hide? Then there are the rumors that emerged shortly after Charles III's ascension. Some sources claim that certain figures within the monarchy are already considering a future without him on the throne. This wouldn't be a traditional coup, but rather an orchestrated transition, where Charles would eventually be convinced to abdicate, clearing the way for William to take over. This would explain the growing public exposure of the prince and the sudden increase in his influence. But there is an even more intriguing detail: Charles III's relationship with the British government. Unlike his mother, Elizabeth II, who maintained a neutral and discreet stance, Charles has always expressed opinions on political and environmental issues. And this bothers a lot of people. For some sectors of the government, a king who gets too involved can be a problem. If there is an effort to remove him from power, it wouldn't need to be done with scandals or public declarations. It would simply require slowly wearing him down, undermining his popularity and authority until his reign becomes unsustainable. And what if this conspiracy is already in motion? After all, why has the monarchy's role been so heavily debated recently? Why is there a growing effort to redefine the royal family's place in modern society? Does Charles III realize he may be being manipulated by those who should be protecting him? The fact is, within the monarchy, nothing happens by chance. Every move, every public appearance, and every statement is carefully planned. And if there is an internal conspiracy against the king, it is being executed subtly and silently. The big question is, will Charles III recognize the threat before it's too late? Or is he destined to become just another monarch brought down by forces he never managed to control? If all the prophecies, omens, and conspiracies surrounding Charles III are correct, his reign may not be as long as expected. But what would happen if he truly were the last true monarch of England? The end of the British monarchy seems like an impossible concept to many, yet the signs that this moment may be approaching have never been more evident. The popularity of the British royal family is in decline. Recent polls show that younger generations no longer see the monarchy as essential to the country. To many, the royal family has become nothing more than a symbol of the past, something that no longer makes sense in the modern world. This means that Charles III may be ruling in an era where royalty no longer carries the weight it once did. But if the monarchy were truly to end, how would it happen? A forced abdication? A political decision? An unexpected event? Analysts point out that the greatest threat to the British monarchy does not come from external forces, but from within. The more fragmented the monarchy becomes, the more vulnerable it will be. And with internal conflicts becoming increasingly evident, the institution may be heading toward a silent collapse. Then there is the weight of the prophecies. Nostradamus, Baba Vanga, and even ancient British historians predicted the monarchy's end under the reign of a King Charles. Of course, prophecies are always open to interpretation, but the fact that so many predictions point to the same fate is hard to ignore. The question that no one can answer is, if the British monarchy is truly doomed, will this happen during Charles III's lifetime? Or will he simply be the king who witnesses the beginning of the end? Whatever the answer, one thing is certain: the throne of England has never been so unstable. The past seems to haunt the present, and the future may be the most uncertain in the monarchy's entire history. Charles III's reign began under an atmosphere of uncertainty, surrounded by omens, prophecies, and conspiracies that few dare to question. Are these merely historical coincidences, or is there truly an invisible force operating behind the scenes of the British monarchy? History has shown that no king is safe from the shadows that lurk around the throne, and the future of Charles III remains a mystery that only time will unveil. If all these theories are correct, Charles III may be destined to be the last monarch of a millennia-old lineage. But if history has taught us anything, it is that not everything unfolds as expected. Is the king's fate already sealed, or is there still time to change the course of this story? This story is just one piece, and one day, maybe you'll see the whole puzzle. If this made you think, subscribe, like the video. It helps the channel grow. And don't forget to share, because more voices mean more discoveries.